back all of you. So today, as per the plan, we are doing the psychology of learning. This is a part of your training methodology syllabus, which is coming under Unit 2. So let us discuss about this unit. Psychology of learning is the title of this today's presentation. So psychology of learning. Let us see, before going to the psychological theories, let us discuss about what is the definition of psychology. Psychology is defined as the scientific study of human and animal behavior. This is the basic and simple definition. So psychology is like physics, chemistry, biology. Psychology also a kind of study which is dealing with human and animal behavior. So all must remember this, not only human behavior and also animal behavior. So why? Because psychologists or educationists conducted experiment with so many animals, and their nature has been related to the human behavior. That is why the scientific studies related to human and animal behavior. And let us see the next slide. See, learning. Let us define the learning term. Learning is a psychological process. So we are, just defining a few important terms related to psychology. So learning is a psychological process which leads to change in behavior. Learning, with the teacher you can learn, without teacher also you can learn, through books, magazines, through pictures you can learn. So that is why learning is a psychological process which leads to change in your behavior. So whomever learn and gaining knowledge, so definitely the behavior will be changed. This change will be due to certain conditions of learning like motivation, stimulus, response. So motivation is a term which you can define as a creative willingness to learn. So if we have self-motivated, the term is considered as intrinsic. And if you have been motivated by others, it will be considered extrinsic. So motivation is creating willingness. So we have to create interest among the trainees towards learning situation. So stimulus is an act like motivation. Stimulus is also a psychological term. Stimulus is an act, creates interest through known senses. See, seeing is a sense and hearing is a sense, like that, feeling and all senses. So all senses, we have 6 senses, 5 known senses, and 6th sense also only human beings are having. So through senses, people used to get stimulated, and through once we get stimulation and we will get motivated. So this stimulus, motivation, and response has relationship with each other. And response is, if you stimulate, then people will respond well. If they respond well, we will stimulate well. So the more the stimulus, the more will be the response, and more the response, more will be the stimulus. This is the one of the important psychological theories. Then learning is one of the other definition for learning is defined as a relatively permanent change in behavior that occurs as a result of practice and experience. So relatively permanent change in behavior. So behavior modification or behavior change will occur when learner continue in a learning process. So these are the important definitions of learning. So let us go to the next slide. And there are some principles after this, definitions of psychology and educational psychology, then learning. Then principles of learning is the next chapter, which is coming under Unit 2. So we are just discussing in Unit 2 what are the important contents covered. Then we will detailedly discuss about theories of learning process, the psychological theories. So learning results from stimulus. This is one of the important principles of learning. Learning results from stimulus. So the previous slide, we have seen the information about the stimulus. Stimulus means act of creating interest. So to create interest, we have to stimulate, then they will get motivated. So learning results from stimulus is the one theory, and learners learn when they are ready to learn. See, some learners may have a very good teacher, but unless they are ready to learn, whatever teacher teaches, that may not reach to the learner's mind. That's why learners should be ready to learn. That's why we are giving importance to motivation. So we have to motivate them and make them to learn, and make them to be ready to learn. Then they will be giving attention, and we can teach them. So learners learn when they are ready to learn is the important principles of learning. Then other principle is learning need awareness and purpose. So there should be some awareness and there should be some purpose of learning. Then only they will get motivated, and then they will learn and proceed further. Then learners learn at different rates. This is one of the important principles of learning. Learners learn at different rates. See, all learners will not be same like one person. So one person may be a slow learner, the other person may be an average learner, the third person may be a fast learner. So different kinds of learner will be there in our class. So we have to identify the learning difficulties of an individual, and accordingly we have to motivate. That's why this principle is included. The learners learn at different rates. So whenever they lack interest, or whenever the slow learners are showing less interest, then we have to motivate them properly. We have to, attend properly, give proper motivation to them. Then the average learner and the slow learner also will come up according to the the level of the fast learners. Then learning is based on past experience. So basic experience some people may have means, then automatically they will give more interest to learn the new subject or new topic. So learning is based on the past experience. So whenever, that's why in the lesson plan morning we were discussing about a lesson plan. There we have one in preparation stage, we have to review the previous lesson to the present topic. Review means linking the previous knowledge to the present topic. So past knowledge, whatever they have, that has to be linked to the present topic. So reviewing is important in the preparation stage. That's why this learning is based on the past experience. So if they have some basic knowledge, that can be linked to the present topic. This is also one of the important principles of learning. So let us see the next information. So the next topic which is covered after theories of learning process is laws of learning. There are certain laws. Educationist and psychologist who has conducted lot of experiment in the field of psychology and education, they have derived so many laws. The important laws which are included in the training methodology syllabus are laws of readiness, law of effect, law of exercise, law of purpose, law of belongingness, and law of association. Law of readiness means, see, we are going to teach a subject. We are conducting a theory class. So first we will inform the topic, then we will state the objectives. So after telling the topic, today's topic is this one, and today's objectives, after teaching of the lesson, you will be able to achieve this, like that. Before teaching, they will expect us what is the purpose of this topic, what is the benefit of this topic, why I should learn this, like that. So we should make them to be ready. We should gain the attention of the individuals. We should gain the attention of the learners. So we are making them to be ready. How we can make them to ready? We can motivate them. We can tell the purpose of learning and what is the advantages of this topic, why we have to learn this topic, like that, to make them ready to learn this topic. And law of effect can be applied in the presentation stage and application stage. This law of readiness can be applied in the preparation stage. So there are 4 steps in teaching process. One is preparation stage, the second one is presentation stage, and the third one is application stage, and the fourth one, the final stage, is testing stage. This law of readiness will be applied in the preparation stage. Law of effect is applied in the presentation stage as well as the application stage. Effect means effectiveness. So when we are presenting the lesson in sequence, as per the objectives we are imparting the training, then we can also interact with them, how effectively the trainees have understood, how effective the training program is, how effective the presentation is. Like that, we can interact with them. We can ask, by asking simple questions, we can understand the effectiveness of our teaching process and also the effectiveness of their learning process. So by asking questions time to time when we are doing presentations, and while explaining the content or the logical sequence of the objectives one by one, then we can understand the effectiveness of the teaching. So that is the law of effect. Then law of exercise. Law of exercise means when we give, it will be mostly suitable for practical demonstration. So when we do repeatedly an exercise or any operation, we will become master about that particular skill. So doing again and again, we can become a master. Like that, we can also insist the trainees to do practical exercises, practical skills repeatedly. So when they do repeatedly, perform the operation repeatedly, they will become masters of that particular trade or particular skill. So this law of exercises, even that also in presentation stage, and even application stage also, we are asking them to imitate. So first, when we demonstrate, they will observe, then imitate, and we can ask them to do repetition. So we can ask them to do again. So if they exercise again and again, they will become masters. So law of exercise is applicable in the presentation and application stages. And law of purpose. Again, law of purpose is also one of the important law in educational psychology. So we have to tell the purpose, like law of readiness, law of purpose also applicable in the preparation stage. So we are informing them the purpose of today's topic, the purpose of gaining knowledge about this particular skill. So once we tell the purpose, then definitely they will get motivated. For this purpose, we are learning. Like that. So law of purpose is associated with the presentation stage and even preparation stage. And law of belongingness is one of the important law. Belongingness is sense of responsibility. So this is important. For this purpose, we have to learn this. Otherwise, we will not perform the skill, or we will not be successful in this trade. Like that, the sense of responsibility, creating the sense of responsibility is law of belongingness. Belongingness is our own subject. We have to learn the skill, we have to learn this theory, we have to learn gain the theory knowledge. That is law of belongingness. Then law of association. See, we have gained so many, we have imparted theory and practical theory knowledge and practical skills, and so much of skill and knowledge they have gained, and everything knowledge gained and skill gained should be associated with each other. So it has to be associated with each other. Then only the strengthening of their knowledge will be, very strong. The knowledge which they have gained will be strong. Then they will remember forever. So association of knowledge is very important. Whatever knowledge they have gained, whatever skill they have gained, whatever they have performed, practiced, and everything should be associated with each other. So then they can remember forever. That is considered as law of association. Then let us, next chapter which is covered under this the second unit, theories of learning processes, psychological theory, experiments of theories. Experiments and theories of learning. So some experiments educationists and psychologists conducted with animals, and those experiments are applied in teaching learning process for the benefit of the trainers and the trainees. So let us see what are the educational theories are introduced. Conditioned stimulus response theory is the first theory that has been introduced by one Dr. Pavlov. By a profession, he's a physiologist, that's a doctor, and he belongs to Russian physiologist. Ivan Petrovic Pavlov is his full name. So conditioned stimulus response theory is Dr. Pavlov's theory. Then insight learning theory is Wolfgang Kohler. He belonged to German. His theory is insight learning theory. He has conducted experiment with chimpanzee. So chimpanzees are like human being. They also have nearly 99.99% of human behavior. So he has conducted experiment with chimpanzee. His findings are given to the education and teaching community, which is benefited for the teachers and learners as well as the learners. And conditioned stimulus response theory, Pavlov conducted experiment with the dog. The more the stimulus, the more will be the response, the findings of Pavlov's theory. And let us see each and every theory after this presentation. The trial and error method is one of the theories of learning process. It has been introduced by one Edward Thorndike. He is an American, and he has conducted an experiment with one animal, that is cat. So these great educationists and psychologists conducted experiment with so many animals, and those findings of the output of the experiments and findings are definitely helping the learners as well as the teachers in teaching learning process. Then learning by imitation. Learning by imitation also one of the theories of psychological theory. This has been conducted experiment conducted with a monkey imitation theory. So always monkeys will imitate whatever we do. And these are the theories. Let us see the next slide. So three major types of behavioral learning. One is classical conditioning, then operant conditioning, then observational conditioning. And the classical conditioning, a dog has been used. This is on, separately we will discuss now. After a few slides, I will take the, to take you people to the Pavlov's conditioned stimulus response theory. Very interesting visuals also there. And here you can see a cat, and it is also trying to get its food, and he's also doing some exercise to to get benefit or to get its food. And observe some disturbances. Okay, observational learning. Through observation, we can imitate. People will imitate. So monkeys are used for imitation theory. So the same thing, it has been applied for human being. So younger people, youngsters will repeat their elders' actions. So the imitation is like this. So let us see. Let us detailedly discuss all these visuals separately. Then learning style. Learning style is very important when we impart theory or practical skill. Content will be there. How we are taking the what, content, method, purpose. Content is what of teaching, method is how we are teaching, and the purpose is why we are teaching. The content, method, purpose, these three important elements are very, very important in teaching learning activity. And the learning style is very important. What way we are demonstrating, what way we are transferring the knowledge to the learners is very important. Like verbal communication, verbal speech, by speaking or by writing or through words in a written way of communication. Then oral is a sound related to sound and music, like audibility. Then visuals, through images and colors, we can present information. So the learning styles are so many different categories. And logical and reasoning, then social group learning, and solitary self-study, and physical by through body movements, hands and touching. So these are the different learning styles available. And let us see the next slide. And this one is the Pavlov's experiment. He has conducted experiment with the dog. This kind of in a cartoon, and real pictures we will see after a few slides. So you see the dog is tied with the apparatus, and I'll explain you in detail. You see the experiment. Dog is tied with the rope, and it will create it will be created interest, and once the dogs are getting interest and it drip the saliva, and through dripping of the saliva it has been measured, and this has been repeatedly measured, and the action is repeatedly done, and before that bell will be ringing. uh, Paulo will ring the bell with repeated interval, and dog will come and the food will be served. After certain uh, time interval, one day he will stop ringing the bell. I mean, serving the food. He will ring the bell and stop serving the food, but it will anticipate for the food and drip the saliva. That time more salivation will be there, and everything will be measured here. So we'll see one by one detailing. So this is efficiency of study method. So many methods are there. The most appropriate method will be studying and understanding, uh, highlighting, underlining, rereading, summarizing, mental imagery, mnemonics, self-explanation, flashcards, practice testing, distributed practice. There are so many methods of learning process. So the worst to best method you can see here. So practice by we best learn by doing. So by practice, an individual will learn well. So flashcard practice teaching, distributed practice only green color, and this is red color, and this is blue color. So intermediate best. So good summarizing, rereading, underlining, and highlighting is not very good. And intermediate is self-explanation, mnemonics, mental imaginary. Mnemonics means, when you teach, if you are an electronic mechanic teacher, you will see for color coding, BB, ROY, grid bit, and very good vibe like that. So each and every alphabet, you have color codes under 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 like that. So mnemonics. And even for our training definition, attitude, knowledge, skill, ask will be the mnemonic for that, mnemonics for that. And so many mnemonics are there. When we teach our subject, some difficult terms can be explained through that. Then flashcard practice testing and distributed practice is the best way of teaching. This is one experiment conducted in a teaching learning process. So with this this introduction slide I finished. Then I would like to show you the Paulo's experiment. So Paulo, I already informed, Paulo is a Russian physiologist. Psychologist is different from physiologist. And conditioned stimulus response theory is Paulo's theory. Conditioned stimulus response theory. So he's Mr. Paul, Dr. Paulo, Ivan Petrovich Paulo. He lived in 19th century, a famous Russian physiologist. And he also got Nobel Prize for his, researches. Is one of the important research he has contributed to the education society is conditioned stimulus response theory. So the classical conditioning, after conditioning, you can see. So condition means ringing the bell. Conditioned stimulus, conditioned response. The CS means conditioned stimulus, and conditioned response is the dripping of saliva. So when bell is ringing, it will drip the saliva. So the condition is ringing the bell, and the response is dripping the saliva. These conditions, we will see the the experiment, how he has conducted experiment, and you see the actual photograph. Paulo's research apparatus, and this is a research apparatus. He will tie the dog like this, because if it is not tied up, then the dripping of saliva cannot be measured properly. It will be wasted. So for that purpose, he has tied the dog like this. And here you can see the one vessel. There food will be served, and dog will have. and ringing the bell also will be there. And you see these apparatus, these instruments are collecting the saliva, and here one drum, revolving drum, will mark the progress of collection of saliva. That we'll discuss detailedly in the next slides. Then this is about introduction about the Paulo and his theory. Nobel Prize he got for physiology or medicine in 1904. So he got Nobel Prize for his research. Paulo studied physiology at Leipzig University in German for 5 years. So he has done his education in Germany for 5 years. And Paulo cut holes in dogs' cheeks. So cheek, no, he will cut holes in dogs' cheeks and inserted tubes to measure salivation. So we must know, see, instead of theoretical knowledge, dogs are used for conditioned stimulus response theory, dogs are stimulated, dogs dripped saliva, then it has been measured. Same thing has been applied in the teaching learning process. Like that, we should know the actual procedures what an educationist or scientist did. That's why I'm giving all this information. He cut holes in dogs' cheeks and inserted tubes to measure salivation. So properly measure the salivation, he has inserted tubes. Then bell was rung just before food was given to the dogs. So he will, some of you may have pet animals, dog also one of the, most Sorry for the disturbance, and I don't know, some problem with the network. Now again I requested me to reconnect. So madam connected that, and we are discussing about. I hope this you are seeing. So he got a Nobel Prize for his contribution. Then he cut holes in the dog's cheeks and inserted tubes to measure salivation. The bell was rung just before the food was given to the dogs. And after a period of time, it was observed that the ringing of the bell alone would increase the rate of the dog's salivation. That means, so, everyone can understand easily that when we call the pet for food, it will come. So there are so many pets like cat and all there, but dogs are commonly, people are having in India. We commonly we have dogs in home, so we can find the difference with the other animals with the dog. It will the salivation. It is so more faithful and lovely pet, and it will also give saliva whenever it will anticipate for the food. So the same method only used by Palo. He will ring the bell. After ringing the bell, dog will come. Then he will serve the food. So maybe twice in a day, I can say. Then when the bell is ringing, then dog will come and anticipate for the food. Then he will serve the food. Then after some time, um, after finishing, it will go. So it has been repeated for so many days. Then one fine day, he will ring the bell and food will not be served. So he will he want to measure the saliva, the difference with before stimulus, before conditioned stimulus and the conditioned response. So stimulus is ringing the bell and the response is salivation. That he want to measure. So the normal day, some amount of salivation will occur, and the day which he stopped serving the food after ringing the bell is more than the normal day of salivation. So he measured that. So he observed that the ringing of the bell alone would increase the rate of the dog's salivation. That is his finding, and that means it is eagerly waiting. It got motivated. It is getting motivated, and it is motivated, and it is waiting for the food, and it has to be served. So stimulus has been made, and a response it is waiting for the response. Response is serving your food. The more the stimulus, the more will be the response. Means serving as soon as it comes, that food will be served. And you can see here, he has one of his Pala's dogs, cheek is cut a hole, and a tube is inserted here. One of the Pala's dogs, and you see saliva, secretes saliva, and from the stomach, saliva is secreting, and this is dog's food. Just for understanding purpose, this visual, and you see the apparatus and what and all there. It is mentioned here. Observation screen. You see here observation screen. From the other side, we can observe, and tube for collecting the saliva. You see from the cheek, the tube and is connected, and you see here, you can see the device to count the dropping of the saliva. So it will drop the saliva, and ringing the bell. After ringing the bell, the dog will come and full food will be served, and the stimulus is serving of the food, and ringing the bell is the conditioned stimulus response is it will come and anticipate for the food. Then device to count the drop of the saliva is this device, and you see after that, and there is a revolving drum for recording the responses. You see, if it is going up means more saliva, if it is coming down is less saliva. So when the belling of the ring happened, and it also came and waiting responded, and the food is not being served, then it will anticipate for the food and it drip more saliva. That time this graph will go gradually, it may increase. it will increase. That is his findings. So the container of meat powder, you see, the dog's favorite food may be meat powder, and this is the container. So tube for collecting the saliva, this one, this is the apparatus. So if you see this, visual, then you will easily understand about the Pavlov's conditioned stimulus response theory. So why this theory is introduced and why they kept in our educational psychology chapter is so many benefits are there for for teaching and learning situation. Pavlov's discovery of classical conditioning remains one of the most important in psychology's history. In addition to form the basic of what would become behavioral psychology, the conditioning process remains important today for numerous applications, including behavioral modification and mental health and treatment. Classical conditioning is often used to treat phobias, anxiety, and panic disorders. So his theory that the conditioned stimulus response theory, classical conditioning, classical conditioned response is being used in numerous fields, particularly psychological field, in behavior modification and mental health treatment. So maybe creating interest and day by day the modifying or improving the behavior and all. This series being used for our phobia. Phobia means some people may have fear for darkness, or some people may have fear to see from the multi-story building to the down one, and somebody may be fear to noise, like that. So these are all the problems, phobia or anxiety and panic disorders. Is classical conditioning approach is being used for our educational situation. Stimulus and response terms are used, and this will be benefited for our teachers and as well as learners. The more the stimulus, the more will be the response, and the more the response, the more will be the stimulus. If the teacher is prepared well and teaching the class well, the learners also understand very well and attentively they will attend the class and understand well. If they understand well and they are attentive, means the teacher also will have interest to teach further. That is the theory. And with this, this classical conditioning and conditioned stimulus response theory, Pavlov's experiment is completed. And two more theories are there. Let us see. And Pavlov's theory. Now, one Collar's theory. Let us see on another 15 minutes time we have. So we can discuss this inside learning theory. Like Pavlov's theory, Collar's theory is also introduced for educational psychology subject, and his theory is called as insight learning theory. Insight learning theory. Insight means knowledge. Insightful means what? Knowledgeable. And learning theory, through this insight learning theory, people will gain knowledge. So Wolfgang Koller is a German psychologist and phenomenologist who like Max Wertheimer and Kurt Koffak contributed to the creation of Gestalt psychology. See, if you see any psychological book, any psychology book, a general psychology or any educational psychology book, you will find this Gestalt theory. Gestalt is an institution, formed by three members: one Kurt Koffak and Max, and the third important man is Wolfgang Koller. So this Gestalt theory, also theory of imitation, and this insight learning theory introduced by his institution Gestalt theory, and this also, this has been introduced by Mr. Koller. So this insight learning theory dealing with knowledge, how people can gain knowledge by seeing, by understanding things. So Koller, one of the founders of Gestalt psychology, along with Max Wertheimer and Kurt Kafka, and he is also famous for his description of insight learning, which he tested on animals, particularly chimpanzees. He has conducted experiments with few more animals, particularly chimpanzees. He has conducted experiment, and let us see what he has done. The result of his experiments during the period 1913 to 17 were published in German. Then they were translated into English in 1925 with the title The Mentality of Apes. So ape is chimpanzee, one more name for chimpanzees, apes. We have seen so many movies, apes related movie. So many movies are there, and Hollywood movies that has been you know made in all other regional languages also. So I hope you might have seen some of the movies, app movies. Then the movies are very interesting, and they will also fight with the human being, very interesting. And behaviors of apps we can see through those kind of movies. And like that, Koller also conducted experiment with chimpanzee. Let us see what is about his experiment after this slide. Koller employed 5 types of problems to study how the chimpanzees solve complex problems. He will give problems to the chimpanzees, and they will solve those problems. So by insight, by thinking how to do this, how to do that, it will solve the problem finally. Like that, a human also will be, will gain knowledge by applying this insight learning theory. Any problem given to the learner or an individual, he has to try to solve the problem, and he has to use his knowledge and experience, insightfully he has to work. Then he can solve the problem, any complex problem. He also used dogs, hens, and a little girl as his subjects for these problems. The two most fascinating and important problems were the stick problem and the box problem. Both the problems involved insight solution. So the stick, chimpanzee will be kept inside the cage, and the stick will be given to that chimpanzee inside, and fruit, banana or any food, favorite food will be kept outside the cage. And how it will try to take that is the challenge, and it will try so many times, then finally it will reach. Then box problem also, boxes will be given to them, and food will be kept distance which it cannot reach. Then it will use boxes, then it will climb up and reach that visuals. If we see, then we will understand well. In the stick problem, Koller placed a chimpanzee. He also named Sultan inside the cage. Sultan was hungry. A bunch of banana was kept outside the cage beyond the direct reach of the chimpanzees. So chimpanzee, if it uses its hand, it will not reach. Only with the help of sticks, it will reach. So how to use the sticks? That is the insight. That is the using its knowledge. So two hollow bamboo sticks, one long and one other short, were kept inside the cage. Since the sticks were hollow, one stick could push into the one end of the other to form a longer stick. You understand? So two sticks are there, bamboo stick, hollow, and the stick is in such a manner, a small, it's a hollow one, and one can go inside. If you insert, it will go inside. So the banana was placed inside the, banana was placed at the distance such that neither of the sticks alone would be sufficient enough to reach the banana. However, if the two sticks are joined, banana could be reached. So two sticks are given to that chimpanzee. Both the sticks, separately, if it is used, it cannot reach the banana. If it is inserted one inside the one, the other one, then it will reach. So that's such a way that sticks are kept inside the cage, and it will fiddle with its fingers. It will try to reach the banana, but it will not successfully reach. Then afterwards, it will think that it's not possible. Then we can insert the stick small into the bigger one. Then you see in the actual picture, photograph of that, and chimpanzee is inserting the bamboo stick inside the bigger one, and this is chimpanzee, just for information. Monkey is a general name, and it has a lot of so many varieties of monkeys. The chimpanzee is one among that. And you see, this is the box problem, and that with the help of this stick, it will reach the banana, and that is the inside learning theory, stick theory, and here box theory. You see, and there is a banana, and it will like a teamwork. You see here, this left side picture visual, you can see like a teamwork. It will organize, and one person will help each other, the other person, and you see finally it reaching the the food, maybe at the banana. So these are the arrangements and teamwork done among the chimpanzees. So that's why it's called inside learning theory. The Gestalt psychology or Gestaltism, in German, Gestalt means essence or shape of an entity's complete form. The theory of mind is a theory of mind and brain of the Berlin School. So Gestalt, in your psychology book, educational psychology book or psychology chapter, you can find this term Gestalt. Gestalt means an institution. The operational principle of Gestalt psychology is that the brain is holistic, parallel, and analog with self-organizing tendencies. The principle maintains that the human eye sees objects in their entirety before perceiving their individual parts. Gestalt psychology tries to understand the loss of our ability to acquire the maintain stable percepts in a noisy world. So Gestalt theory basically deals with the insightful learning. Whatever knowledge we have, whatever experience we have, that has to be applied in the real life situation. That is the gist of the insight learning theory, which was introduced by Koller. So with that, another 5 minutes more, I invite people for the discussion. You can ask questions, any doubts, clarifications, if you have in related to insight learning theory and conditioned stimulus response theory. Yes. And one more theory will be the next class, 13th. I have scheduled 13th, 12 o'clock. One more theory is there. This again we will summarize all this information. Then again one more class will be continued on 13th, 12 noon sharply. As per the schedule we have to do. So one more class is there for this psychology chapter. So I have planned to conduct sessions as per the training methodology syllabus. So unit 2 is psychology of learning process, and first introduction about the chapter, what are the contents, psychology definition, learning definition, and theories of learning process and the laws of learning. Then experiments conducted by Koller, Thorndike, and Palo. So this Palo's theory and Koller's theory we have seen, we have discussed, and Thorndike theory we will see on 13th. So with this, I would like to invite people for any discussions or clarifications.
Sir, do you want me to unmute everyone and go ahead with the
question? Unmute. 2-3 minutes are there, so they can ask any doubts. One more class is there. In that class, I will explain detailedly about the one more theory. That is theory of
Sir, I think
imitations.
I'll go one by one because, it becomes very noisy if I'm
Yeah,
unmuted.
madam. Yes, yes. Yeah. Please, madam. Yes, yes.
Then, Dinesh,
Yes, ma'am.
please go ahead with your question.
Ma'am, I'm just asking to na.
Ask sir, not me.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, yes, Mr. Dinesh.
Okay,
Yes,
sir.
Mr.
I'm just
Dinesh.
asking na. यार लाइट दिला बोले.
Please.
The conditional stimulus theory of Pavlov, sir, na.
Mm.
That is the condition is the ringing of bell.
Yeah.
Okay, sir. Ringing the bell and the
Yes.
dog response is live.
Yeah. The response is it will reach. It will come and anticipating for the food is the response.
Response. Okay, sir. In this theory, sir, time is also taken.
Yeah. Instead of time, we can say period. So so many intervals. Intervals are very important. So we can't serve food for the dogs whenever we are thinking or whenever it is asking. The conditioned stimulus response theory deals with the conditions, certain conditions. That is ringing of the bell and anticipating for the food, and serving the food and finishing the job. That is the conditions. So each and everything is very important, and repeated interval also very important. And repeatedly food will be served for the dog, and one fine time it will be stopped. That day only the secretion of saliva will be more. So it is anticipating for the food. The motivation is too much. So it is waiting for the response. Yes.
Okay. Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, one more question I have.
Yes, madam.
I see your meeting, you've requested for some more online classes,
Madam. Yeah.
If that slot is not available, like you've normally asked for like morning time, 11 o'clock.
11 to 12 means
Normally.
my trainees, some of the trainees, also most of the trainees that women, see, I'm working in NST for women. I have 47 trainees. So all are working in their home, and they are preferring after the breakfast, we will be free like that. So that is why I preferred as per their choice 11 to 12, madam.
In case 11 is not available, what is the next best slot that you would want to go for?
If 12 also okay, madam.
12 is also okay. Fine, sir.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll unmute others also.
Yeah, please, madam. Any other questions are invited? And 11th,
Redmi,
12 to 1, 13th,
Redmi is
13th, the
there.
next.
Sorry, 17th and 24th is what I see.
Yeah, regularly I have registered, madam. From Monday, regularly I have registered. Kindly approve, madam. From Monday, regularly I have nearly 12 classes I have registered.
Oh, okay. So, sir, then I think you'll also need to keep a track that as to for which day you've received confirmation and which days are missing.
Yeah, yes.
Just
So
make
that
a note of
repetition
it
is.
and I'll schedule for the rest of them. In case any day is missing, then I'll
Yeah.
schedule. I mean, I'm seeing it in our database, but just in case, by chance anything is missed, you can just let me know. You have my number.
Yeah, madam. Yeah. Yes. I will make a schedule like time and topics and dates. I'll mail you, madam. I will send a message.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, sir. Sir, can you repeat law of
Good
imitation
evening.
once again?
Law of imitation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Law of imitation.
Imitation. Imitation is, applicable, more practical than theory. When we demonstrate the practical skill, there are 4 important operations are, followed. One is observation, imitation, repetition, and participation. So trainees will be made to observe the demonstration first. Whatever skill may be, they have to observe properly. Then we will ask them to imitate. So imitation is nothing but I am giving the demonstration. You please observe. It may be a drafting procedure, or it may be a welding procedure, or it may be a stitching procedure, or it may be a programming procedure, step-by-step method. So they have to observe it. Then after observing, we can ask them to imitate. Means you show. I have shown now, I have demonstrated, now you show, like that. So that is called theory of imitation. So in imitation, in the beginning, there may be a lack. That means they may not do well. And we have to identify their problem, the learner's problem, what way they are doing mistake. So that if we carefully observe, and we can pinpoint those mistakes, and we can tell them these are the mistakes we have done. The next time we can rectify all those things. So theory of imitation is dealing with
Okay, sir.
practical exercises.
Thank you, sir.
And while